This is issue 15 for the Kaiju Engine. This will be setting up the yaegi Go interpreter. This is just so that we can interpret the code, the script code, while the editor is running without having to recompile, and it'll be pure Go code. And the design is that when we go to make the official build of the application or the game, it will be fully compiled source code without any interpreter at all. So it'll be pure Go all the way through. And this allows us to have a scripting like environment where we can change some things in real time, see how it behaves in a sandboxed environment while the editor is running, and we don't have to do anything crazy. We don't have to recompile or anything like that. Of course, that code is going to be a little bit slower, but that's usually as expected whenever you're testing in an editor environment. So this is the design choice that I came up with for being able to write even the scripting code in Go. So it's like the best of both worlds. You can script in real time, and you can then compile straight to native binary. So I forked off of the Trafic yaegi interpreter. But then I made a few modifications, and one of those modifications was allowing me to make it so that I can replace some strings on imports. This way, in Visual Studio Code, it looks beautiful for you while you're writing your scripts. And when it gets internally compiled to the interpreter, it replaces it in real time without you noticing to a format that it likes. It's just a little quirk that we had to deal with. Okay, so we don't even need that anymore. I don't know why that was error was there. So yeah, that's basically where we're going to be working off of. So I'm going to start with an interpreter folder. And inside of here, we're going to have an interpreter.go package interpreter. And the reason for this is that we need an interpreter inside of, or we need the symbols for the engine to be built. And these symbols are passed to the interpreter, and it'll use all of the context of our current files. So we're going to do import reflect, and then we're going to do var symbols map string reflect value is equal to that. So this just sets it up because yaegi comes with an exporter, which we're going to go through and export all of our source Go file symbols just so we can communicate back and forth between the interpreter. If the interpreter built its own, for example, host package, then they wouldn't be able to communicate because they'd be seen as different. So we basically export out the symbols from the regular engine to the interpreter for it to understand what we're doing. So that's mainly what this is, and we're pretty much done with this. This is all we need is to create that package symbols. So the next thing I want to do is a little bit of cleanup. I want to add the project template and the bin folders to the git ignore here. Just a little bit of cleanup there. Next, we don't need the interpreter to be a part of our build, our project build. So instead of our ignore, we're going to add in interpreter into that as well. Now, unfortunately, when we use this interpreter, there is a downside, and the downside is generics. There's no way that the interpreter will know about those generics, so we're going to have to, at some point, go and fix those. But I'll fix those when an error comes up because it'll be easier to find all the problems. So instead of the build folder, we're going to create an interpreter folder for building our symbol tree that will be exported out for the interpreter to understand the structure available to it. So we're going to make another ignore.txt file here. And we're just going to add folders in this one. So bootstrap does not need to be exported. Build doesn't need to be exported. Editor doesn't need to be exported. Interpreter doesn't need to be exported. Neither does project template nor source. So all of those don't need to be exported out for the interpreter to know about. So now we can create our main.go for this. Package main. And we do want to import embed because we're going to do that embedded on that file. Go embed ignore.txt or ignore string. We'll probably just kind of copy some of that code. So I'm going to copy the find root from this other one because we're going to need to know the root directory. And I'm just going to paste it here. And I don't need the project folders, so I'm just going to say find root, get rid of the second string, get rid of the second string here and here, and just save this to get all those new paths in. So we'll just need to be able to get the root func main. So we are going to want this first find root, and I think there's a way for me to, whatever, root error is equal to find root if error is nil, panic. And then we want to list all the folders recursively. So that's going to require us to have a new, instead of file system, a new function similar to copy directory. It's kind of similar to copy directory in the fact that we iterate through folders, but we're just going to be getting a list of the folders. Do we have a list of files? No. I thought I made that function. I guess I didn't. So while I'm here, I'm going to create a couple of helper functions. I'm going to make a func list folders recursive path string. And then we're going to return some errors. Is this what I want? Yeah, this is basically what I want. Let's see, we're getting a list of folders. We're walking through the path. If it is a directory, we're appending. Okay, cool. And then we'll have list files recursive, and that's going to be just everything. I guess that could just be called list recursive. And then we can, I mean, technically we could have a list recursive, and instead of having this as a string, it could be some kind of struct that tells you whether it's a folder or not, and then gives you the path. But that's fine. Let's just move it to the top. Extra helper functions doesn't hurt. And then we'll make the list files recursive, which is going to be the inverse of list folders. Okay. Sometimes the AI is helpful in that way to put in the code I was just about to type. So func read file path string. This is just a helper function. No, we're not going to be a byte array. We're going to do a string. Actually, I'm going to call this read text file string error. And then let's see what it comes up with. So we're going to open up the path. If it's an error, return blank error file. And then IO copy new string reader text. I suppose that's one way. I don't know how efficient that is. Let's do a string builder. Strings builder. And we're going to just, I think, just pass in the text here. The first argument is the destination. What the heck is this thing? File. Source is the file. Destination is the text. Yes, I don't know what it was thinking. Like I said, always check its work. And then we can have a read file for binary if we want, but we'll add that when we need it, when it comes up. So coming back here, we're going to now get a list of our all of our directories. So we'll start with entries, and error is equal to file system dot list folders recursive from the root. If the error is nil, not nil, panic. Now we're going to get our ignore entries, which we can just copy from over here, because we're going to do that same return line stuff, or carriage return fix. Okay. So now we want to change our directory os.chdr, and we're going to go to root plus / interpreter. So we're going to go into that interpreter folder here that we created, and we're going to run the yaegi export command. So for entry and read entries, entry is equal to strings dot replace entry root plus / with blank 1. This is because the root is an absolute path. So if we're on Linux, it'd be like /home /Brent / whatever. So we're just replacing that whole starting with nothing, just to fix that issue. Next, we're gonna copy the skip stuff here. And this isn't going to be entry.name anymore because of the way it is. And we're not going to be looking for, we're going to be using the skip, the has prefix. So strings.has prefix entry and the ignore list, because it's a list of directories that we're ignoring. Also, I want to skip hidden directories like .github or .git or any of those. So we'll actually start skip off as has prefix dot as well. Skip any of the hidden directories there. So if it's not skip, we'll do print line. We'll print extracting plus kaiju / plus entry. And then we will do exec.command. We're just going to do this inline. EGI, comma, extract entry run. So this will give us an error. So error is equal to if error is not nil, panic, because we didn't finish exporting all the symbols. Cool. So that should run that. Now I don't have the yaegi extract, so we actually need to get that, which we can get from calling go install here. And we're going to use the official one rather than whatever one mine might make. So let's just run go install command latest. Let it do its thing. Okay, so as an example, I will go into the interpreter folder here, so cd interpreter, and I'll do yaegi extract kaiju / matrix. And what will happen is you'll see this kaiju - matrix pop up, and I did this one specifically because I knew that I had some of these generic functions exported, which, like I said, we'll probably have to figure out how to work with that, but for now I'm just going to get rid of the exported generics and also, what are these called? Type constraints. So we'll start with the type constraints. We'll make them local to the package. I'll just prefix them with it. Oh, I have to get rid of this file. Or we're going to do this one, and vector. So we're going to do all those. And then we're going to come and do these. Can I rename this now? T. Yeah. T signed, T unsigned, T. These are all just used locally to this package anyways. T vector, T matrix. And then these can be not, we can just make these not exported. So clamp red to degree, degree to red. Those can just be private to the package. Dig, clamp. Okay. So with that all set up, I don't know why these guys are complaining. Unused. Okay. Now we can go to the quaternion from array. This technically, I didn't even have to do it this way. So we're going to just get rid of the generic and change T to float. And then we're going to replace all these guys. And that will make those happy. We're not actually deleting those because we're using them. We're just removing the unneeded generics here. Oops. Float. Now let's go to the next ones. Vector 3 from array. And then the last one's vector 4. Basically, these are all the same copied functions. Float. Okay, cool. So now this matrix export is happy. Let's do an official complete write. So let's go up. And now let's run go run build / interpreter / main.go. See if we have any errors. It's going through the Git folders because notice it has the entire path with a Kaiju prefix, which is why I told it not to do that. So let's take a look at what's going on there. Entry is strings replace entry root plus /. Oh, so on Windows it's not going to be plus /. So we can just let's see. There should be I wish there was an OS file separator or something like that. There's like a bunch of tricks we can do, like file path, join. Perhaps this will give us what we want. Let's see. Yeah, oh, nope. It just kept the .git in this case. So the play entry. I think the skip needs to go before entry. No, it doesn't. I think it's because this starting / here makes it a little annoying. I'm going to print this out and see. So we're going to print entry before we do anything. Let's run this. Okay, stop. So we're looking at /git. So I don't think that our / came across there. So let's just do a silly trim prefix here, I guess. And I can deal with the rest later. So entry equals strings.trim prefix. We're going to entry and /, and then we're also going to strings.trim prefix. We're just going to cheese it a little bit here. That'll make it happy. So there we've extracted all these packages here. So interpreter should have them, but it doesn't, of course. So Kaiju windowing. Where did our change directory go to? Root interpreter. Make sure I spelled that right. interpreter. Let's also get a new shell just in case. Okay. Nope. Okay, so we're printing it out and we're not getting an error. So let's try. Oh, there's a slash at the end there. Does that matter? I don't think it does. Kaiju slash. Why is there that? Where's my last print line at? Let's print out. Oh, entry's blank. Okay, that's goofy. So skip is this, or strings.trim, or the length of strings.trim space entry is equal to 0. Let's see if that gets rid of that first one. Oof, that's hard to read. Let's just go again. Okay, that first one's gone now. So now it says Kaiju/engine. So let's copy this. And let's go into interpret. Oh, I don't need to go in there. Let me refresh this first. Okay. So let's cd into interpreter, and let's just copy and paste everything. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay, that's taking much longer. And we got it here. So something probably about the terminal that it's using. I'm going to reopen code. Oh, I'm a dummy. I was printing it. I was doing it there, but not here. So we just call this pkg is equal to this, so we don't make that silly mistake. Okay. Go run that. There we go. Now it's taking much longer. On Linux, this is way faster whenever I did some testing. But now you see we're getting all of our symbol files being built. So we'll probably build this on Linux, or I'll probably build this on Linux when we need to. This really just needs to be built once we go in and do a release. So let's also go to the git ignore, and we're going to ignore interpreter slash kaiju dash star. We don't want to add all of those, but we do want to add this one. Okay, so now our interpreter building for the symbols is set up. We actually just need to start doing the interpreter testing and running. Also, I'm here just to make Linux happy. I'm actually going to change all of the 0655s to 0755. Is that the only one? Pretty sure I had more than that. Let's go to the build main. Yeah, it's right here. What the heck? Okay, I don't know what I was searching. That's silly. Okay, these are all going to be 0755. Cool. All right, now we're going to go and create our interpreter, and we're going to do it inside of the editor for now, just to test out how this is going to work. Inside of engine. Oh wait, it's not engine, it's inside a bootstrap editor. Okay, this is where we're going to do our test code just to see if it works out, how it works out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to import the interpreter package that I want to use, which is going to be this one, the Kaiju Engine variant. And we're going to want the interp, and the standard lib. Oops. So we're going to want both of those. And I can create a test project for testing things, but first let's get this set up. We're going to do ITP is equal to interp.new, interp options. Now we're going to use the modified code for the options. So we're going to add in an import sub to the options. So import sub, and this is going to be of type import substitution, which we have here, which has prefix and replaces two fields. So prefix and replace. And I'll fill those out when I remember what they are, but for now, we're just going to have that set up. So now we'll say if error itp.use stdlib.symbols. This is going to include all of the standard library symbols similar to the symbols that we built out in this interpreter. So we have our own symbols, which are going to be exported here through the generated code. So we're just going to duplicate this and change this to our interpreter symbols. So standard library symbols and then our interpreter symbols. Next, we want to find the entry point to the script code. If you remember when we set up the project creation, that was going to be read text file. That was going to be inside of the project name. So in this case, it'll be test source.go. So this will have to be set. We're just going to say to do get this correctly. And we'll do project path is equal to test because it's going to be local. So it'd be project path. Or we do file system dot, or not file system, file path dot join this and that. Okay. And this is actually going to return a possible error. So if error is not nil, we'll panic. Of course, panicking probably isn't the right thing to do here, but this is what we're working with for now. And we're going to look for the entry point function that has the host as the entry point. So source main error. We're not going to. Oh, I forgot to eval. We read the file. We need to eval it. If error eval source, then panic. And then we'll do this stuff. We're going to panic on the error. Otherwise, we're going to say the entry is equal to source main interface, the function that has the host pointer, because this is not going to be source. This is going to be source.main, which is the entry point function we set in the project setup. And then we'll call entry host and see what happens. Of course, when we're interpreting inside of the editor, it's going to be a little bit different than this. So let's create a test project. Create new project path. And let's run our template project. What is it called? Build project template. Project template. Let's run our project template compiler to get our project template here. And then we are going to run through here and make sure that it creates the project correctly. So let's make sure we're in the Windows editor, run this. Oh, of course, errors. Main editor 12, Kaiju Engine. Let's go to our Go mod. Oh, it's not even in here. Nope. I'm gonna need you to add this to the Go mod, please. Okay. I don't know the command off the top of my head, so we're just gonna copy this and go into some file that seems to be working with the interpreter or with the package. Go get that. Although I don't think I needed the interpreter. I need v01, so I'm gonna just modify that once it gets down. Okay, that one failed, so let's just get this package without the interp at the end. Now we're getting something here. So we'll go now into Go mod v1100. That's correct. Okay, so that's the tag that we do want to use. Let's go over to main and change that back. Okay, so now the interpreter is in there. So now let's try running. Oh, interpret type. Okay, so I'm actually going to go through and clean up all of these to be pointed to the correct repository, and maybe that'll make it happy. Okay, I think I got past that point. I had to change this also to Kaiju Engine, and I just replaced V100 with the fixed one because nobody's pulled my special repository, so that's fine. Now I'm going to get the import substitution is missing, and that's because this needs to be interp.import substitution. So let's try to run that and see where we get. Okay, so our project path is test, and that should create a test folder. Sweet, we don't need that anymore. And I'm going to just stop right here and check out the test source main. And I want to test out importing sub packages instead of the source with the interpreter. So I'm going to create a stuff folder with a thing.go in here, package stuff, type thing struct x, y, int, that's fine. And I'll also make a func thing, not add, print, where it will print line x and y. Then inside of here, I can do thing or stuff. Let's do thing. Yeah, thing equals stuff dot thing. No thing. Okay, let's import it correctly. Kaiju Engine slash source slash engine. And this will be stuff, or not engine, stuff thing 1, 2. And then we can do thing print. Now this is red because we're inside of this outer project. So if I open up a new VS Code window, okay, I've opened up a new window to the test folder, you'll see that this is properly imported, and that makes this happy. So this is just complaining about untyped. So this is how it would look to the person who is scripting. It would look completely normal. We would have import kaiju source stuff because we're in this kaiju package inside the source folder and then inside of the stuff folder. So it's red here, but when you're actually scripting, it won't be red. Now the key thing is we want this import to work inside of the interpreter. I'll show you what happens if we are just using no prefix replace, which is, again, this is a modification I made to allow for doing these prefix replaces on imports. So when we run, you'll see Kaiju source stuff is that it's unable to find it. So the key is we want to replace Kaiju slash source, and we want to replace it with the path to the folder that we're dealing with, because the interpreter works off of file paths when it does the import. So for example, our project path is test. So we want it to be, we actually want it to be the full path to this, to where this is, which kind of, this is a relative path, so we probably don't want to use this. Full path, and we're going to replace that with slash, let's see, Kaiju source. Should replace it with, I think it's just replace it with the path and then let it be slash whatever. No, it should be source. Slash source slash whatever. And I don't want to just do Kaiju because, it could be Kaiju Engine, which is correctly imported thanks to the symbols that we pre-built. So what I'll do here is I'll do file path dot, I think it's ABS. Gosh, I wish the thing was working here. Let's go to main, file path dot absolute, and this returns a string and an error. So we're just going to ignore the error because we're testing stuff. Put a break here. We'll make sure the project path is correctly put into place. Project path is the C uses brand documents get Kaiju test. Okay. And then we're setting to source and slash source there. And hopefully everything works out with this import substitution. Otherwise, I got to go fix that too. Still Kaiju source. All right, I'm going to fix that import substitution. It doesn't seem to be happy. Okay, after some mucking about inside of the yaegi project that we have specific for Kaiju, I fixed it so that it'll correctly recognize the absolute path to that package folder. It doesn't need to be in the Go path. I don't feel the need to worry about that. So now we can run this and we will get our correct starting editor and then 1.2 coming from the thing 1.2 and then the print of the internal stuff folder. So at this point, I think our initial scripting is working out correctly. So I'm going to delete that test folder and get this. Oh, well, we can't commit it yet because this is kind of test code. We're going to need to have we're going to need to move this over into like a interpret execute, because we're not going to interpret the code when the editor starts up. We're going to interpret the code when we need to in the editor. So instead of editor, we're going to create a new folder called interpreter. That's a lot of interpreter folders, I know, but or I'll call it interpret. Well, this is only going to be a single function to interpret. We'll create it inside of project. Interpret. Is that how you spell interpret? Interpret. So package project, and then we can have a func interpret project. Project path string, and then we'll move our code we have here. We'll just move all of this into interpret project. Make sure it's using the correct Kaiju here. And the project path is passed in, so we don't need this guy anymore. And we need the host. So the project and the host that is going to be running the project. Cool. So that'll be in our interpret, and now this guy is free to say project dot. I don't need interpret project because we have project. We'll have and project interpret source, and the project path will be test in this case, and we'll pass in the host, and then we'll make that test project once more, I guess, just to make sure this is all working. Project dot create new project test. Run this, make sure we get our test project pop up. Yeah, we do. We have the source. I'm going to change the source real quick to do print line hello from test project, and I want to make sure those imports also still work. I don't just to be sure. Okay, I just went ahead and made this doesn't mean test. I just went ahead and made the thing again while this was still at this break. So let's run this. There we go. Hello from test project 1.2. Sweet. So that's all working. Let's just delete that test project. And we don't need this project template anymore right now. We're done with that. And cool. So I'll get this committed up, and we now have a scripting language, technically. It's just interpreted Go code that can work with our engine and the context of our engine using the exported symbols. I just realized before we finish, we actually should not panic when the project interpret fails. We should actually return an error rather than panic. So return error, return error, return error, return error, and return error. Return nil. There we go. So all the places that error could have, and make sure I'm not using any underscores. I am, but that one doesn't matter. That one is just passing in the source. Okay, cool. Now we're good.